and a little boy. One time, long, long ago, there lived a little girl. She was 5, and her brother was 6. And they did everything together. The little girl was a very good girl. The little boy was a very bad boy. He always got into mischief. He liked to play with matches. In fact, once they caught their swing set and a nearby tree on fire. The little girl always tried to discourage her brother from doing those bad, bad things. But she would always tag along to keep an eye on her big brother. Guess who that little girl was? You. Yes. The little girl was me. Now, who knows what this is? It's the magnifying glass. So, you know, in Southern California, where the sun burns real hot, the little boy, or my brother James, he would, try to focus the light and cause paper to burn, and then he'd cause ants to burn, and then he'd cause lizards to burn. He would do all sorts of mischievous things. My brother used to climb trees, and I would follow him. One time I fell off the tree following him, and I broke my clavicle here, just a little fracture, but you can't really do much about it, and so they just put a brace, and it healed over time. Well, one day, the little girl and the little boy were at home, and for some reason, they were home alone. We were rarely home alone, but that particular situation, I think my mom was just about to come home from work, and my dad had to leave for work, and it would only be a few minutes before my mom came home. So, for some reason, I thought it would be a great idea to pick up the phone and call 911. I'm not sure why my 5-year-old mind thought it would be a good idea to do that. I think because they had drilled in my head, if there's ever an emergency, dial 911, and I would always think about, dial 911. I thought, well, what would happen if I dialed 911? I knew the number well. It was only 3 numbers, and I don't honestly remember whether it was a rotary phone or whether it was a touch phone by that time, but I called 911. I don't remember exactly what the dispatcher said, but I'm sure it went something like this. 911, where's your emergency? Silence. Hello? Hello? Is somebody there? I froze. I didn't say a word. I couldn't say a word. I didn't know what to say. What do you say when you call 911 when there's no emergency? But immediately I knew I had done something wrong. So as soon as I dialed the number, I hung up the phone. And my brother was there. Now, my brother was a bad boy, but for some reason, I think his mischievousness rubbed off on me, and I was the one that actually made the call. And then you know what happened? In a few minutes, I heard sirens. And then I saw fire trucks, and I saw policemen coming up our driveway. We had a 2-acre lot, and there was a long driveway. I could see it from our window. And I saw all these people coming to figure out what the emergency was. So my brother and I hid in the master bedroom. Actually, I think we hid under the blankets, not making a sound. We were home alone, and firemen pounded on the door, knock, 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 hello, is anybody home? But we stayed put and did not make ourselves known. Eventually, I think somehow my father found out. He came back and spoke with the first responders, and I don't really know what happened much after that, if I was punished or just reprimanded. But the point of my telling you this story is not to highlight that you should or should not call 911. In fact, it's foolish, so don't do it unless there's a true emergency. But I did want to reflect on our emergency system. How amazing is it that in this earthly world, we have a system where you dial 911 and immediate help comes, right? Like Uncle Lucky. He works for the EMS, and he responds to emergencies. We're so blessed and lucky to have these services. What about the heavenly 911? Do we also have something like that? Did you know in Matthew 18:20, it talks about when 2 or 3 are gathered in God's name, he's in the midst. It's like 2 or 3 gather, and we're praying, and all of a sudden it's like an emergency heavenly 911, that's called. And Psalm 34:7 says, the angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him, and delivereth them. So if we fear God, and if we call on that emergency 911 for God's protection, do you think He'll hear us? Even if it's a false alarm, I think God will respond immediately. Don't we serve an amazing God? Amen. Okay, you may go back to your seats.
Thank you, Auntie Cheney, for the story. But this is the time that we can all participate by giving our tithes and our offerings. And our offerings today goes to support our local church operating budget. And as we give our offerings today, further the work of God, let's not forget that the gift that we give can be multiplied in God's hands by our prayers.